Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, well, we are strapping in for an 8,000-year ride, really, into the world of Georgian wine, the country pretty much universally recognized as the absolute cradle of viticulture.
Yeah, it's not just talk, it really is the oldest living wine culture on the planet. But our mission today, I think, moves past just the history books.
Right.
We're here to understand this tension.
Yeah.
How does this incredibly ancient tradition, centered on these clay pots buried in the earth,
Yeah.
how does not just survive, but actually thrive?
Yeah.
Especially under meticulous modern regulation and, frankly, aggressive global marketing.
Exactly. We've got sources covering everything from, like, archaeological digs back in 6000 BC, right up to the National Wine Agency's Q1 2024 export reports. So, yeah, we're going to unpack the UNESCO-recognized Qvevri method, dive deep into the legendary Saperavi grape, and try to make sense of this huge commercial success that Georgia is having right now on the world stage.
Okay, so to set the scene, let's just nail down the foundation. Archaeological research, particularly in the Qvevri region, it gives us pretty irrefutable proof. Domestication of grapes specifically for wine started about 8,000 years ago. That kind of historical depth means wine isn't just, an agricultural product there. It's absolutely fundamental to Georgia's national identity.
That longevity, wow. It means every bottle carries this cultural weight. But for the traveler, or maybe just the curious drinker, what cultural things should we really connect with Georgian wine? Because it feels like it's more than just sitting down and having a glass.
Oh, definitely. It revolves pretty much entirely around the supra. That's the traditional Georgian feast or banquet.
Yeah.
And the key figure there is the tamada.
The tamada.
Yeah, the master of ceremonies, basically. But the tamada doesn't just, manage the food. They're responsible for guiding everyone through the Sagradzello. These are, they're deep, sequential, philosophical, often quite emotional toasts.
Huh. So the tamada isn't just like cheers. They're actually curating the whole emotional journey of the meal. Seems almost like, I don't know, poetry and connection, not just having a good time.
That's exactly it. The toasts often cover really big themes: life, death, ancestors, friendship. They reflect what the sources call the Georgian soul. And this whole communal spirit, it really peaks every year during the Right Valley. That's the grape harvest. It's a genuinely vibrant cultural festival, not just farm work. Honestly, if you're thinking about visiting Georgia, September or October is the perfect time to see that community spirit in action.
Okay, let's switch gears to technique, because this is where those 8,000 years really make Georgia stand out. The Qvevri method.
Ancient innovation, right?
Yeah.
And now recognized by UNESCO as Intangible Cultural Heritage.
It is, and the vessel itself is the Qvevri, this large egg-shaped clay amphora. But it's what happens to the Qvevri, not just its shape that's key. It has to be buried underground, usually in a cellar called a marani. Okay, hold on. Why bury it? I mean, in modern winemaking, we've got these super precise, temperature-controlled stainless steel tanks. Why go through all the effort of burying giant clay pots?
Well, that's the genius of it. It's passive thermal stability. The Earth itself is Georgia's original climate control system.
Okay.
By burying the Qvevri, you minimize temperature swings way better than any surface cellar could. It keeps the fermentation and aging environment incredibly stable, typically between maybe 14 degrees C and 25 degrees C. This avoids those big temperature spikes that can cause off flavors or, stalled fermentations. It's low-tech perfection, really.
Right, makes sense. So once the Qvevri is buried, you put the crushed grapes inside, often with the skins, stems, and seeds. The chacha, you called it.
That's right, the chacha.
That sounds kind of counterintuitive, especially for a white wine. Wouldn't including all that solid stuff make the wine really bitter or harsh?
Well, that's where the magic happens and where we get into the whole world of orange wines. For white grapes, you have prolonged contact with the chacha. It could be weeks or even up to 6 months.
6 months, wow.
Yeah. And this extracts significant amounts of tannins and these things called phenolic compounds. That's what gives the wine that characteristic deep amber color and a really robust, almost structured feel in the mouth.
Wait, tannins in a white wine, we usually think of that texture with reds.
Exactly. And this is the key insight, I think. Those phenolics aren't just for color and texture. They act like the wine's own natural bodyguard. They're powerful antioxidants.
Okay.
So this natural structure, this defense mechanism, is why Qvevri wines can age so incredibly well. And often they need far less added sulfur dioxide or other chemicals compared to, big industrial wines. It's clean, ancient aging power.
That structure, it really does challenge our Western ideas about wine, doesn't it? A white wine that kind of drinks like red. Okay, let's pivot to the red star, Saperavi.
Saperavi, yes, the most emblematic red grape. And his name actually means colorant or dye in Georgian, which tells you pretty much everything about its unique biology.
Okay, colorant, so it stains
Oh,
things.
yeah, but it's more than that. It's what's called a tincturier grape.
Cainturia, right, I've heard that term. For listeners maybe not familiar, why is the inside color, the pulp color, such a big deal for a red wine's structure and how long it lasts?
It's actually quite rare. Most red grapes, they have colored skins, but the pulp inside is clear. That's why you can press a red grape like Pinot Noir quickly and get white juice for champagne.
Right, okay.
But Saperavi is a tincturier. Both the skin and the pulp are pigmented. They're red. And this is vital because it creates wines with this incredibly intense, deep, almost blackish purple color. They hold on to that vibrancy and intensity for much, much longer than, say, a typical Cabernet Sauvignon that isn't tincturier, which might start fading after a decade or two.
So Saperavi's intensity plus the Georgian terroir means it's basically built for the cellar from the get-go. What kind of profile should we expect when we taste it?
Well, Saperavi is really defined by two structural things: naturally high acidity and pretty firm tannins.
Mm-hmm.
These act as amazing natural preservatives. They give it this exceptional ability to age, often, 10, 20 years, sometimes even more. When it's young, expect really intense notes like black cherry, pepper, maybe some licorice.
Okay.
But as it matures, it develops these deep, complex layers: dried fruit, tobacco, leather, sometimes even earthy truffle notes. Really complex.
And I find its versatility really interesting, too. You can get those huge, robust, dry, full-bodied styles from specific areas, PDOs like Mukazani and Upperuli. Very serious wines.
Absolutely. Mugazani is known for maybe the fullest body, but then the exact same grape also gives you naturally semi-sweet wines.
Hmm.
The most famous is probably Kynes Morale.
And that's not sweetened artificially, right?
No, not at all. It's a completely natural process.
Yeah.
The fermentation is basically stopped, often just by the intense cold of the winter months, before all the grape sugar turns into alcohol. So it leaves this beautiful kind of velvety residual sweetness, but it's perfectly balanced by Saperavi's naturally high acidity. It's not cloying at all.
Fascinating. So Saperavi is clearly the champion, but Georgia is a country of really different regions, different climates. We can't just talk about Georgian wine like it's one thing. We probably need to look at the main zones defined by their law. Can you sort of map those out for us?
Sure. Let's start in the east with Qvevri. This is the absolute powerhouse. It accounts for, over 70% of all Georgian wine production?
70%.
Wow. It's huge. The climate there is semi-arid, continental, generally quite hot in the summer. This leads to really powerful concentrated wines. The biggest Saperavi reds come from here, and also the most tannic, structured Qvevri whites, often from grapes like Rocketelli or Mentsvein.
Okay, so Qvevri is the powerhouse. Let's move kind of centrally to Kartli, near the capital, Tbilisi. How does the style change there?
Kartli is generally higher in altitude, and it's influenced by the Kura River Valley. It tends to focus on lighter, fresher styles. You see more European-style whites, and actually quite a bit of sparkling wine production. Grapes like Gruli Mitsime and Chinuri are key here. It's maybe the style that's most immediately familiar or approachable for, say, Western European palates.
Right. Okay, now heading west towards the Black Sea, Emirati, subtropical climate. The sources mention something about having to raise the vines way up high, the Muglari system, to deal with humidity. Does that actually change the wine's taste?
Oh, it absolutely does. The humidity in Emirati is a major challenge. So the traditional Muglari trellis system lifts the vines high up, sometimes even onto trees, just to get maximum air circulation and prevent rot and fungal diseases.
Clever.
And because of that climate, they also tend to use a lighter Qvevri style in Emirati. They use much less chacha, the solids maybe only about a third or even a fifth compared to what they might use in Qvevri.
Ah, okay.
And this results in Qvevri whites that are lighter in body, lower in tannin, but still have this vibrant acidity. Grapes like Sitska and Solikuri are typical here.
That's a really cool example of tradition adapting specifically to the local climate. Okay, finally, the mountainous northwest, Racha and Lechumi. Sounds remote.
It is quite rugged, high-altitude terroir. And this area specializes almost exclusively in natural, semi-sweet wines. This is the home of the really famous red Kvanchkara that's a blend of Alexandruli and Mujuratuli grapes, and also the white semi-sweet Tavushi, which is made from Solikuri. The climate here, the cold, basically dictates the style by naturally stopping the fermentation.
Amazing regional diversity. So this is a country just steeped in tradition, obviously. Yet the sources we looked at show they've got a really robust, quite modern legal structure managing and protecting this whole complex picture. Let's unpack that regulatory side a bit.
Right. The foundation is Georgia's viticulture and winemaking law.
Yeah.
And the main body is the National Wine Agency, the NWA. Their job is sort of twofold: protect consumers from fakes or poor quality wine, and also drive the strategic development of the whole sector. They maintain the Vineyard Cadastre program that's like the official database of all registered vineyards. Super important for traceability.
The sources mentioned a big change that came in 2023 mandatory certification. Why suddenly bring in such strict controls seems like a big move.
It is a big move, and it's critical, I think, for controlling quality on the global market, especially for the PDO wines, those with protected appellations of origin.
Right.
They now require mandatory certification. There's control over yield per hectare, how many grapes you can harvest, and strict quality checks. This really signals to international buyers that Georgia is serious about consistency and wants to weed out any low-quality stuff that could potentially damage the national reputation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I noticed a couple of specific market rules that seemed quite strategic. They added de-alcoholic wine as a category that feels modern, but they also banned selling brand wines by the glass locally. Why block those specific sales?
That's actually a really smart strategic move if you think about perceived value.
How so?
By banning the cheapest sort of generic non-appellation brands from being poured by the glass in bars and restaurants within Georgia, the government is essentially forcing those places to prioritize higher quality appellation-controlled wines. It's a mechanism to protect and elevate Georgia's premium image domestically, ensuring that the local experience reflects the quality they want to project internationally.
Clever. So it's about shaping perception from the inside out. And it sounds like that dedication to quality is absolutely non-negotiable when it comes to exports.
Absolutely. For any appellation wine that's destined for export, degustation, basically a full sensory analysis, a tasting panel is mandatory before the wine can even leave Georgia.
Wow, they taste everything.
For the PDO wines going for export, yes, they're vetting their own product to ensure it meets the standard, that it's consistent, high quality no matter where it's going. And this regulatory rigor, this focus, it's directly fueling the incredible commercial success we're seeing right now.
Okay, let's look at that success, because the NWA's report for the first quarter of 2024, the numbers are pretty stunning. A 54% jump in quantity exported. That's not just slow growth. That feels like a major strategic win.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to the same period the year before, Q1 2024 saw wine exports grow by 54% in volume, nearly 30 million liters. And the revenue was up 48% to almost $84 million US. This really suggests they're breaking into new valuable markets and also really capitalizing on that global curiosity about orange wines and unique reds like Saperavi.
Are they just pushing volume, though, or are they also seeing success with the higher value stuff like the chacha and brandy?
It looks like both. Exports of all alcoholic beverages combined, so including brandy and the traditional grape vodka, chacha, they increased by 32% in quantity in that same period, about 10.3 million liters. And this market success is definitely helped, lubricated, you could say, by a very favorable trade environment.
Right. That's where the trade policy stuff comes in, the free trade agreements and this GSP thing.
That's the engine room for exports, yeah. Georgian wine exports are often duty-free and VAT exempt because they have free trade agreements with major players like the EU and the CIS countries. Plus, they have this generalized system of preferences, a GSP status, granted by really crucial high-value markets like the USA, Japan, Canada.
And GSP means?
It means they face low or zero import tariffs in those countries. That gives them a huge competitive price advantage over wines from nations that don't have GSP status. It makes Georgian wine much more attractive financially for importers and consumers.
And their presence in the market seems to confirm that investment is working. They're winning medals, showing up at all the big trade shows.
Definitely. The sources highlighted that just in Q1 2024, 108 Georgian companies were showcased at 9 major international events, places like Pro Wine in Dusseldorf, Raw Wine in Paris, Foodex Japan.
Wow.
And the validation came pretty quickly. They picked up 25 medals at the Texom International Wine Competition in the USA, which is quite prestigious. It really shows that their push for consistent quality, backed by regulation, is being noticed and rewarded by international experts.
It's just an incredible story, isn't it? From literally the dawn of civilization, these ancient methods, through to complex international trade deals and quality control. This deep dive really shows that Georgia's success isn't just about preserving tradition. It seems to be about strategically pairing that amazing ancient legacy of the Qvevri, the Saperavi grape, with a really robust, modern regulatory system and some very smart international market strategies.
Yeah, and if you connect this back to the wine itself, the unique structure of Qvevri wines, particularly those deep amber orange wines, they really demand a kind of paradigm shift for most wine drinkers,
Yeah.
especially from the West. They are inherently structured, often tannic, intensely flavorful in a way that most modern, industrially made white wines just aren't.
Mm. So maybe this raises a final thought for you, the listener. If you haven't already, you really should seek out some Georgian wines. But maybe when you approach them, remember you're not just tasting a drink. You're kind of engaging with 8,000 years of cultural history, which is now protected and promoted by this modern state apparatus geared for global competition.
Right.
So the question becomes, what does it really take for a wine born in a clay pot buried underground to actually make us rethink our modern, often highly industrialized global idea of what a wine, especially a white wine, can even be? Maybe go find a bottle and explore that history for yourself.